I mentioned earlier Annette Corrie, who came and presented at one of my workshops a little while back, and we were able to film about her background. And she's going to share a little bit of her history. And the reason I'm showing this is that Annette was someone who'd never been in business. Her family and her friends, none of them were in business, and they said, "Nettie, you're mad, you're daft. You should never go into business, you'll lose your money. You know what happens, you read about it in the newspaper, blah, blah, blah." So she's going to share a little bit of her story. And what I'd like you to do when you're looking at that is thinking, wow, here's this young lady who'd never been in business, got fed up with being made redundant, came from the fashion industry, went into business on her own, and what she achieved because she just had a can-do-it attitude. And you'll see her evolution from a business that was falling down around her ears almost, screaming to get out, to creating a very valuable and significant franchise group.
So I actually run 2 wedding companies. One of them is all about venues, and they're both based on the Gold Coast. So I guess one of the biggest benefits that franchising has given to me is the flexibility to do what I want. And I guess what my goals are, I guess, in life is just to be able to live that beach bum lifestyle and travel around the world when I want to and not actually be tied down to a physical business. When I, particularly working weddings, you have to be really reliable, and you get phone calls all the time and you have to return them within 24 hours. Otherwise, you have brides absolutely freaking out if you don't reply to emails or phone calls. So I guess when I first started my business, after a year, I felt really trapped in my business because if I wasn't there, the business didn't go anywhere and there'd be a lot of breakdowns happening. So I guess for the first year, I took no holidays. I was like run into the ground. I was working 6 to 7 days a week. And there was many weekends I was calling my husband on the phone in tears going, "I can't handle it." Like, there'll be all these different things happening in business. Like, linen wouldn't turn up. And, you need to deliver like a wedding. You don't have time. You can't be late. Everything has to be 100%. So we'd have lots of different breakdowns like that, and I was just trying to do it all by myself. I didn't have any staff, and it just wasn't a very good business model. And I worked that out quite quickly when I got to a point of I've had enough. I want to sell the business. So I went to the business broker. And he gave me a business valuation of about $30,000. And he said I'd be very lucky to even sell it for that much because it was worth nothing. And it broke my heart because I'm working my ass off. And, he's just like, you've only been operating for a year. No one's going to buy a business that's been operating for a year. And, you'll have a really difficult time selling it. I decided to franchise, so that was about 18 months ago. It took me 3 months to put the system together. I had a consultant actually talk me through it, which was amazing because when you're trying to translate like anything in franchising, you're like, what does that mean? So that really helped me. And I settled on my first franchise the very first month that my documents were ready from my solicitor. And I did this with no marketing. So I had a pre-sale during the 3 months. I was just telling people what I was doing, and I also shared with my staff as well. There was actually a staff member who was working for me 5 hours a week, only 5 hours a week, who actually bought the very first franchise. So that was pretty cool, like literally selling a franchise as soon as it was ready. And now I have 5 franchisees. I actually settled on number 5 last night. So I was very, very excited. And I guess the main reason, the great thing back to, my business broker told me, your business is worth nothing. You've only been operating for a year. You'll be lucky to get $30,000. And the main reason why I wanted to sell it in the first place was to have the lifestyle where I could travel, and the business didn't rely on me being there 100% of the time. And that's literally the life that I'm living now. Last year, I went to, pretty much after every franchise sale, I go on a big overseas holiday. And last year, I went to Hawaii. And then I went to Bali twice, and then I went to Hawaii again in December, and then New York, and then the Bahamas. And then we've just come back from a full month in the States. So, like in the States, like the whole time that I was away, I was like, there was a franchise being processed, and my solicitor was looking after it. And I came back this week, and the documents were already signed, and yesterday I signed them. So that's the kind of thing, like I still can't believe, I'm just like, this year has probably been the biggest year for me to really translate from actively working for money to money just coming passively now. My company has a valuation of about $300,000. So I don't know anybody else who's actually, 10 times the value in 2 years. And there's certain things that I have done in the last 2 years that have given me that kind of valuation.
Okay, yeah, so that was about 3 years ago. What's happened subsequently was that Annette continued to grow the business. She had her problems to begin with. I was mentoring with her at that stage, and she was really having a problem with prospects who said they wanted a franchise. She spent lots of time with them, and when it came to settlement, they couldn't come up with the money. That type of thing. So I went through with her and mentored her in the application process, how you handle that delicately enough to avoid offending people, but make sure that you're not wasting your time with people who aren't appropriate, no matter whether they've got the skills or not. So those sorts of things, and having finance available, knowing some good brokers you can use, and so on. So that's what we went through with Annette. But she went through an amazing stage from her growth. You can see that the cost to set up really was not significant, around that $30,000. Her annual fee income, on average, I'm rounding off her figures here, was $80,000. She actually ended up selling 15 franchises, including a couple of state ones to New South Wales and WA. She formed 2 businesses. So I don't think she mentioned in that cut that she found it was just too difficult, actually, when she started running the franchise, to actually handle the weddings, which might be on the beach, and the ceremonies, which might be in a church or another location. So she did the obvious thing. Well, it wasn't obvious to begin with, split it into 2 businesses. So she created 2 franchise groups, which were complementary. And that really was quite significant. So in less than 4 years, she then got to the stage where she actually sold the whole business. But she retained all the intellectual property. So she sold the rights for Australia. And in that process, over that 4 years, she made about $750,000. Right? Not bad for somebody who said, I'm going to give up, business broker valuation of $30,000. So you can see what she achieved as an unsophisticated business person just by getting on and doing it. And I guess that was one of the reasons for her success. She didn't know better, if you know what I mean. We can all put problems and challenges in front of us, but she got on with it. So that's a great story.